Hi, Jennifer Jameson here. I am recording the February 26th Academy, Choosing a Different Path, or a discussion about gap year. And then I'll be sending it out to students. If you are watching this and you would like Academy credit, I need you at the end of the Academy to send me an email with 3 things that you've learned from this video. You can send that email to jjameson@crosbyscholarsIredale.org. So let's get started. Many of our students are just not quite sure what they want to do after high school. Some of the top reasons for not going to college that I hear and that we have seen on different websites is that first off, it's too expensive, right? People just don't have the money to pay to go to college. Sometimes people would prefer to just go ahead and start getting a job, right? And going ahead and collecting money. Other students do not feel like they have the grades or the test scores that they feel will allow them to have access to the 4-year school that they're looking to attend. Yet others are still undecided in their major and they want to make sure that they kind of have a pathway and they actually know which direction they're going before they start spending that money on their education. And then, unfortunately, there are students where, parents didn't go to college, their family does not see value in it, and they're just not quite sure if they should go, right? So the first thing I'm going to say is college is not for everybody, but education is for everybody. And when I say that, I mean, in most worlds, and I don't even know where I heard this from, but it is my favorite phrase, education is a barrier to employment. So no matter what type of job you are going to do, you are going to need some type of training or education to do it. So it might not mean having to go to a 4-year school or get a master's or a doctorate, but it definitely means that you need to understand the skills to be able to do something. So we're going to talk a little bit today about some other options other than going to a 4-year school, maybe delaying going to a 4-year school and or starting your education or doing continuing education with local community colleges and getting some trade training. So, um, these are different options. There's many different things that you can do life after high school. But the top 10 alternatives, according to familyeducation.com, other than college, is get a job, start a business. We've got a lot of people that are entrepreneurial. Travel. Yes, we'd all love to travel, right? Serve in the military. Earn a vocational or a career training certificate. These can be done at local community colleges in less than a year sometimes. Um, Learn a trade, work with an apprenticeship or an internship program, um, be an intern or apprentice, right? Volunteer in the community. Take education classes, adult education classes, and then maybe turn a hobby or a moneymaker, turn a hobby into a moneymaker. Like, maybe you have a skill or a service that you can provide and you have found a pathway to make that money. I kind of put that together with, starting a business or, part-time jobs, Anyway, so these are top 10 alternatives to college, according to that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the subset of job, internship, and apprenticeship. So, when you first graduate from high school, right, you want to think career, not job, right? So you want to consider the pay that you'll be making. How much money do I need to make to survive? I want to have a certain lifestyle. What job will then afford me the lifestyle that I'm looking for, right? You want to consider your interest and your passions. And I'm going to add to that your aptitudes, right? There are a lot of things that you can do online on cfnc.org. If you're attending Iredell Statesville Schools, you can use Major Clarity. Or if you're a Crosby Scholar and you're interested, we can send you a U-Science aptitude evaluation. But taking some kind of evaluation to explore, your personality, your interest, and your aptitudes to then determine what jobs and or careers would be a good fit for what you are able to do. Um, Also, learn what you like. Right? Like that kind of falls into interest. But if you are really good with your hands, but you don't like to work outside, right? There's things that you want to consider. Um, and maybe there's things that you're interested in and you just haven't learned how to do it yet. Taking some classes might help. The other thing is job, apprenticeship, and internship. It allows you to gain some experience. We love for you to build a resume. Everything that you do leads you to what's next that you're going to do, right? So, in my mind, whether it is a part-time job, an internship, an apprenticeship, um, a volunteer experience, right? You are gaining experience that you're going to be able to put on a resume. And the next time you go to get that next job at that next level, this is just a building block. Um, the last thing that in this little subgroup that's a benefit is that you're creating a network, right? So your boss or your teacher or your mentor is actually someone that can not only write a reference for you, but that you can keep reaching to back to and saying, hey, what's your advice on this? Or, hey, do you know anybody that needs that, right? It's a great way to build a network. So as far as the service and travel, so some students will take a gap year in between high school and going to college, and they will volunteer in the community or they will travel. So um, there is a very high need for volunteering in the world, okay? And you can gain experience and create a network. Um, when I first created this, travel was limited because of COVID. Um, so we talked about consider serving in your community locally. Um, but it's just not feasible to continue to exist by just volunteering. Somebody's got to be paying those bills for you. Um, if you are a student that's looking for that year in between, there are some organizations that offer called a gap year, and we're going to talk about this a little later in the presentation. That's a more formal process that allows you to sign up, and they kind of control, they send you someplace and you are volunteering in the community and then you're learning, and there's like different components to it. So we'll talk about that in a minute. As far as trade, career, and technical college, Mitchell Community College right here in Iredell County is a great way to do continuing ed. I mean, the continuing ed courses they have, and you can go to their website and you can see, but it's like a fast path to entry-level jobs. We're talking welding, HVAC, electrical. They have an agriculture program. They have mechatronics and machining. They have in healthcare, they have CNA as well as like medical assistants, right? And so the certifications are usually done within months instead of years. There's a variety of opportunities. Sometimes you can get on-the-job training, um, company paid training. So sometimes you can go get a job at a company and then they will actually pay for you to get the certification at the trade slash community college. A lot of community colleges and businesses actually have a relationship where the business says, I need people to be able to be diesel mechanics. I don't know if Mitchell has diesel mechanics. That's just an example. But then they'll say, okay, I'm going to send you 10 people. Please train them to be diesel mechanics, right? So when you are applying for jobs, and I believe, this will be dating this video, but if you're a senior watching this video, there is going to be a job fair in Iredell County. You should have gotten from your school a request to fill out a form, and you can go to the Statesville Civic Center. You can actually get transportation from your high school, and many businesses in this area are going to be looking for people to be hired. So, participate in those job fairs, look for those company paid opportunities, explore the different types of certifications that are available in continuing ed at the local community college and at Catawba Valley and Forsyth Tech, all that. This will also help you build a network. I know when we have talked to the folks at Mitchell, many of the certifications that they offer, there are lots of businesses that are like, hey, let me know if anybody finishes this program because we could hire them, right? So straight to work is a great connection there. Community college and, also has the ability from a vocational slash 2-year perspective. So if you are looking for a different path, you can take a 2-year associate's degree. This can be directly related to a specific job or just getting your gen ed done so that you can then continue to a 4-year degree. Participating at a community college in these early classes will reduce your cost. They will help. You can actually live at home and you can work a part-time job typically while you're going to school. And there's lots of different choices available. I will tell you though, if you are truly taking a gap year, you want to make sure that you've checked with the college that you are, if you have applied to go to school, been accepted, and you deferred your acceptance saying, hey, I need a year break, make sure that you're allowed to take community colleges in that break and it doesn't mess up your acceptance to the 4-year college that you might have gone to. So, a 2-year associate's timeline, right? So basically January through March, if you haven't applied to a 4-year school and you're looking to go to a 2-year school, you want right now to go ahead and go to Mitchell Community College's website. You're going to do your RDS, which is you're going to prove that you're a North Carolina resident. And you're going to complete the application, and then they're going to get in touch with you. You also want to go ahead and do your FAFSA. So there is a cost to going to local community colleges, but you can fill out your FAFSA and can be eligible, especially those eligible for Pell Grants. That can practically cover the cost of your Mitchell Community College. So, again, I don't know the finances, but do these things. Go ahead now, apply to Mitchell, get your RDS, complete the FAFSA. And then I believe April 1st is registration through the school for summer classes. But if you want to wait until the fall, you're basically, your application is going to then connect you to an advisor at Mitchell, and then they will contact you, and then you can set up a plan for which classes you want to sign up for, whether it's an Associate of Science, Arts, Engineering, and so on. Okay. Any questions about that and you're a Crosby Scholars, please reach out and contact us. I do know that Mitchell Community College also has folks at different high schools in the county, and they should be able to answer your questions as well. So I do want to point out there are options. So if you are choosing to go the community college route, Iredell County, we have Mitchell. But if you look at Mitchell and find, oh, I want to do dental hygiene, and Mitchell doesn't have dental hygiene, then you can look at Catawba Valley, Forsyth Tech, and Central Piedmont. All 4 of these community colleges are within, this area and allow you to have lots of different options. Again, I would start at Mitchell, see what they had available because, driving back and forth can be difficult. But I think even in the healthcare realm, I think Mitchell has a relationship with a few of these schools where you can take some of the classes that the other colleges offer virtually. I could have heard that wrong. But go ask Mitchell. They'll answer all your questions for you. Okay, so I would be remiss if I didn't put out some things as to why, you want to get a 4-year degree. But basically, you have the ability to earn more money, right? It allows you to kind of break out of your shell. And this is all according to ncplanforcollege.org, right? It allows you to break out of your shell, gain new skills, find direction, live healthier. I mean, it's just proven, especially during COVID, we saw that folks that had a 4-year degree and a steady job, came out, they did not lose their job. So many things were beneficial as a part of having additional education. Beyond expanding your career options, um, getting involved and, seeing the world. Some colleges have like study abroad programs, that kind of thing. There is definitely a financial impact, and you can go look online. There's, tons of information about, your earning potential over so many years' time. I will tell you that I just watched the North Carolina State of Education, and by 2030, they're looking to have 2 million folks that are have an advanced certificate or degree. So not necessarily a 4-year school only, but getting those certifications and community college, technical school, and being trained. We need a workforce that is trained to do specific jobs. Um, the other thing that I just want to make sure everybody understands is, the cost of living is going up, right? So, and this was a couple of years ago that I did this, and I truly believe that the average rent is actually higher right now, in Mooresville, North Carolina, as well as in Statesville. I think you'll be very surprised at how much it costs to rent an apartment nowadays, or a house or what have you. So really kind of understanding what your cost of are you going to live with your parents? Do you have to move out? What do I need to do to be able to support myself, right? And then this is just an example of the average rent in Charlotte, in Raleigh, Durham, Winston-Salem, Wilmington, so on and so forth. Okay. So you want to go to college, but you just don't want to go right now. So that's what we call a gap year, right? So when you're thinking of a gap year, a lot of folks will use this. We ask all of our students to tell us, what are you doing next? And I have a good 10% of kids that say, oh, I'm going to take a gap year. And they really just don't want to tell me what they're doing next. There is no shame in going straight to work or going to the military or doing an associate's. It's great. Anything that's right for you is fabulous because it keeps moving you forward. Okay. So there should not be a stigma that's associated with any of this. But if you have decided, I just need a minute, okay, I cannot function in the world. And right now, the world is a little crazy. And you want to take a gap year. This is typically a student that is going to go ahead and apply to college. It's really important to go ahead, I think, to go ahead and apply to college. And then if you want to defer your acceptance, you communicate with them, and then you have a year to kind of take a break. While you're doing that, though, you should not just be sitting playing video games, right? It should look like a job, travel, service. I've got video games and hiding. That is not what you should be doing. So there's some pros and cons to a gap year, right? So the pros, you have extra time to make some money to help you pay for the cost of school, right? You get some real world experience, which, by the way, is invaluable. When you end your college career, it will be really important for you to have worked at least during the summer, if not during the school year, at least on a part-time basis, or getting some kind of experience in the job that you want to do, right? Because when you get out of school, you're going to show your fancy new degree and they're going to ask you, how many years experience do you have, right? So getting that real world experience can be a big pro. You can also add to your resume, you can save money, and if you want to travel, you have some time. The cons of that is you're a year behind your classmates. You lose momentum. Some kids that say, I'm going to take a year and they don't even apply to school, it's very hard to then get back on that wagon and apply and go back. A gap year can be really expensive as well. And then, it takes a lot of thought and planning to do a gap year correctly. Okay. So, if you are choosing to do a gap year, I want you to make the most of it, right? So take a class, learn a new skill, right? Try to get an internship of some sort. Incorporate a little travel. I don't, unless you have a ton of money and an account somewhere, or unless you are traveling to work somewhere else, which is interesting, right? Um, you're going to get a little bit of travel, right? Make connections, get references, right? Keep track of your accomplishments. So during that year, don't just let it just slide by. Like start like tracking in either resume form or some time and activities list or something. And then keep an open mind, what's out there. Your mom and dad might be like, I need you to go get a job. I need you to go do something. But you never know when they connect you to something that actually might help, right? So have an open mind. Listen to mom and dad, see if they can help connect you somewhere, right? Um, you can do a gap year on your own, or you can do it with a program. So I talked about this earlier in the video that there are actually it's almost like a college application process where you apply with a gap year program. Typically, it is about the cost of 1 year of college, but it's very structured. They have experience and they're going to provide you opportunities. They're going to hold you accountable. Um, Typically, when you sign up, like I have had a few students do this, and it was like a great year for them. They loved it, right? But they applied to go to college, deferred their acceptance for a year, then applied with this specific program. The program had like several parts to it. It had an education part, it had a service part, and it had a travel part. And so what they did was in an organized fashion, they took these students, a group of students, and they sent them to someplace like San Francisco or New York, right? And then with the partnerships that they had available, they hooked those students up with nonprofits where they would actually on a daily basis go to volunteer or work, right? They set up classes. They made sure that they had housing and transportation, right? It was very controlled. It held the students accountable, but it did cost them some money, right? If you choose to do this on your own, you really need to be committed. You have to have a plan. You need to do the applying for the internships. If you're doing an internship away from your home, you will have to get someplace to live and pay for that, right? If you're gonna do volunteer service, set up consistent service, like weekly. I am gonna be at Feed NC doing this every Tuesday, right? Um, and reach out to your network, to your parents, to your grandparents, your aunts and uncles. They have friends in real life and on Facebook that they can possibly connect you to. But you do really have to plan. Um, so the advantage of deferring enrollment to college. So, like I said, if you are planning to go to a 4 year school and you just want a year break, I would apply to college like all of your other friends are doing. I would get that acceptance in my hand, and then I would talk to the school about, hey, I really do want to come to your school, but I want to wait a year to come. Okay. So, first off, make sure that they will let you do it. Okay. Um, it is easier to go ahead and apply while you're a high school student. You have your school counselor, you have your Crosby Scholars advisor, all of your transcript is submitted. If you wait to apply to college a year after, you then have to make sure that you are requesting your transcript from CFNC. You have to try to reconnect with teachers. It's a lot harder, right? Some students lose momentum during the year. Knowing you have a place, like it relieves the pressure. Like I know where I'm going to be in a year. Now let me focus on what I'm doing. Um, you also will still be considered a student and eligible for health insurance, student internships, and student programs, right? So that is one thing that if you are a student, you can stay on your parents' health insurance until you're, I think, 26 years old. If you stop being a student, um, you know, There's a question about the health insurance and about other things that you might have an opportunity for. So there are some advantages of continuing your education or going ahead and applying and deferring. If you decide to defer your enrollment, you want to ask the college these questions. What's your deadline to defer? What kind of documentation on the year do they need? What is the process for starting again the next year? Because again, if you have a short exit plan for your year, you want to make sure that you have a startup plan for when you go back to school, okay? What are the deadlines for reentry? How will this 1 year off affect your financial aid, scholarships? I mean, if you applied and got a merit scholarship, it's not necessarily guaranteed that that will wait a year. So you want to ask those questions. Will money that you earn during your gap year that you're saving for college, will it affect your eligibility for financial aid, right? So you want to ask all of these questions so that you can make an informed decision, okay? So that kind of gets us to the end of my presentation. If you have any questions whatsoever about either, starting your after high school in a different path, or taking a gap year in between college and high school, please feel free to reach out at any time. Otherwise, if you are a student that's trying to get Academy credit, if you can please send me an email and let me know 3 things that you've learned today by watching this video, that would be great.